What's going on, everybody? Happy Patch Day, and let's dive into these April 18th, 2023 changes that have just happened to Marvel Snap. And spoiler alert, I'm all for these things. Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of them. Personally, I know some people are, but let's dive into them. First of all, there's the Shuri patch. Now, I say patch as opposed to nerf because I don't really think this is much of a nerf. It is, but not really, in my opinion. So for anyone who may not know, the way Shuri used to work is you could deploy her, and the next card you deployed anywhere on the board would get double the power. Now, the way it works now is you have to play the card that you want doubled at the same location as Shuri. There's only one real scenario where this comes into play, in my personal opinion, and that is if you hide your guy behind Cosmo. So very common play is that you would drop Shuri somewhere, and then instead of playing your, say, Red Skull at the same location as Shuri, you would play her where the Cosmo is. The reason being is that Cosmo protects the living crap out of that doubled thing. So when you have an armor, there are some ways you could deal with it. You can pull armor to the side with like a Polaris. You can come in with Enchantress, blow up the armor, but with Cosmo, there's really not much you can do. So this nerf stops that very specific play. I'll be honest with you, I used that when I could. I did become a Shuri player over the last week or so. Trying to climb, got stuck in the 80s. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. But I did. I played Shuri from 80 all the way up to 95, which I'm currently at. And quite frankly, she's a very strong deck. And I got off this hiding with Cosmo maybe 10%, 15% of the time. So I'm here to tell you this nerf is, I think, good, but it's not as bad as most people were expecting. I, including, was expecting the Shuri deck to get blown up. It's going to not be as good, but like as I have said in the past, the Arrow card is still a very, very good card. It's not as strong as it once was, but it is still quite strong, and I think Shuri's the same. Next is Leech. Now, I hate Leech. I think most players that play Snap also hate Leech. There are some that do play him and do love him, and I understand why. He's incredibly powerful. But Leech was never supposed to be designed to take out people's cards on turns 4, 5. It was just supposed to be a turn 6 card, hence why it's got 5 power. But with Wave, with Psylocke, with Electro, you could really bring out Leech quick. Lockjaw, horrific card for anyone who's playing against Lockjaw. And let's just get to the point. RIP those Thanos decks. In general, 2 big hits to them from this nerf bat today. Leech is a big one. So if you're playing Thanos and you are able to throw those stones into Lockjaw and get that Leech out fast, it's GG's for most times against your opponent. But with this new change, I honestly think it's good for the game. And you can argue against me, and that's fine if you like playing Leech. Unfortunately, I'm not sad at all about this nerf. It's a big one, and I like it. Next up is the Lockjaw nerf, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting this one. I didn't think Lockjaw was an overly abused card, and with the change to Thanos, or specifically to the stones, and then the change to Leech, I thought that deck really had enough, being picked on, but apparently not. Let's also take a shot at Lockjaw. So with Lockjaw, you can only now do 1 card per turn. Now, I know there was a big push at the end of the game where people would throw down multiple stones, which will turn into She-Hulks and Deaths and all those crazy things, which would really destroy people's days. Yeah, I'm actually not having any issue with this change either. I like Lockjaw. I like the concept of Lockjaw, but I just generally don't play him much. And when I do, I'm not playing him to get those monster cards out on 1 turn. If I'm doing it, it's once per turn. So for me, this change is good. For most players, I think they'll be okay with this. Some other players who love Lockjaw specifically, I know this is going to piss them off. And, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't see this coming. I don't think most of the player base saw this coming. I didn't think that deck archetype needed another nerf, but apparently they thought it did. Now in for some changes. First is America Chavez. So the way Chavez used to work is that she'd just be somewhere in your deck, and when she got to the top of the deck, if she was the next card to draw, they would just draw the card underneath her, and you would get that. So cards like Yondu would often pick her off as she sits on the top of the deck, but now the card is going to be at the bottom of your deck. So the only way Yondu's going to ever hit that card is if it's the last card in your deck. But guess what? Other card actually grabs it 100% of the time that it's in your deck. That's Cable. I expect Cable to get a lot of play moving forward. A lot of people use Chavez for deck thinning. A lot of people use Chavez for that big play. When you're playing Cable, odds are you're going to be getting a Chavez. So I think you're going to see a big uptick in Cable's play. I don't mind this change, I'll be honest with you. It's both advantage and not advantage. You take away the Yondu hit, but you really hit the Cable hit. And I know a lot of this is coming about because they're doing some top deck mechanics upcoming. So again, I don't have a problem with this. Now, Jubilee used to pull a random card anywhere from your deck. So it's one of those things you're just like, well, it's an equal chance of anything. And now it'll pull the top card of your deck. Now, for the most part, in today's meta, that's not going to really make much of a difference because it's just grabbing a card from your deck. You have no idea to know what that card is. But in the future meta, this is going to be major because there is going to be ways to know that top card of your deck. So Jubilee, I think, is going to get a major uptick in the future. But right now, it's still pretty much the same. It's just preparing for future deck mechanics. I'm okay with that. Now, Leader is a card. So I didn't play Snap in the pre-nerf Leader days. I actually don't know what the card text is. I'm sure I can look it up, but it doesn't really matter that much to me. I don't care. But the current, I shouldn't say current, the former version, the one as of like yesterday, basically Leader was a 6/7 that would duplicate the cards to the right of the card. It didn't get much play. But the new Leader, it's at 6/2. First of all, losing 5 power is a huge change, but the card text is it will copy all the enemy card or cards with the highest power played this turn on your side. So if somebody is dropping like a big Hela or, you know, a death because there's been lots of death going on that turn, plus say a Magneto, you can get copies of both of those cards on your side. I think Leader's going to start seeing some play, especially decks like Zoo decks that, you know, maybe don't have the legs to outpower the big power decks, the Shuri decks, if you will. But if you have Leader, oh look, you just got yourself a monster card. I think this is a very good change for Leader. I think we're going to see Leader re-enter the meta. Looking forward to it. Because, hey, anything shakes up the meta is good by me. We've also had some series drops. So we have 5 cards that are now dropping down to Series 3. All 5 of these cards, 4 of the 5 cards, in my opinion, are really top-end cards. So I'm really happy to see this. We're going to have Shuri dropping. We're going to have Super Skrull dropping. That's the one I don't think is top tier. Black Panther, Bast, and Valkyrie. I think all of these cards, 4 of these cards, are all excellent. And I'm looking forward to this change. Really happy. Dropping to Series 4, we have Ghost, which I think is an undervalued card, especially if you're playing a big cards deck, like, say, I don't know, Shuri. If you have Ghosts, you're always going to be playing second, so the priority is always going to be with your opponent. So they can't Shang-Chi you on that last turn, unless it's going after a lane that you already have. But you could perhaps protect that with a armor, as an example, or if it's hidden behind a Cosmo, then it'll be fine. So I actually like Ghost. I'm happy to see it drop to Series 4. I hope to actually draw it myself. I think it's a good card. Other things dropping is MODOK, which of course was a Seasons Pass card a couple of seasons ago, and Stature, which is a very interesting card for me. I don't have it. I'd like to have it, and I'm looking forward to hopefully drawing it in a cache one of these days. And finally, we get Jeff the Baby Land Shark. Now, Jeff is a monster card, and for a week, anyone could pick him up. So if we go here into the store, you're going to see a new kind of token shop where there'll be 3 things available. I don't know why it's not scrolling over, but there is the Ultimate Variant, there's Jeff, and then there's the Series 4-5 card. So you can pin the Series 4-5 card, which for me is Stature right now. I like Stature. I don't like her that much. Cost 1 if the opponent discarded a card from their hand this game. It's still a good card, but I'll wait. Jeff, on the other hand, is an excellent card. You can move this card once, moving or playing this to any location. What Jeff can do is he can go into those Professor X lanes. He can rather move his ass in, or he can deploy straight into it. Nothing can stop Jeff. Incredibly good card, some great synergies with Cerebro. This is a card that if you could afford it, I would say do it. I think this is a real good value at 6,000 credits. There's a lot of great ideas you could do with Jeff. Jeff slots into almost any deck. He's 2/3. He's a high value card just right off the top being a 2/3, but with no deployment restrictions. I think Jeff's a monster. So I would recommend highly if you could pick that up. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. Sorry there hasn't been a lot of content coming from this channel lately. I've been dealing with some personal issues. Nothing out of the ordinary. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all soon.